What's up, and welcome to another episode of the I Tried to Be Straight podcast. Stop doing that. This is a special episode, like every episode is special because I need new words. This is our season finale, which we just decided on a couple weeks ago because we have been going hard. We have been going really hard, and we had never been podcasters before. And now we are them, I guess, officially. It was a joke for a while, but I think we really are podcasters now, huh?
This was a bit, and the bit went too far. And now
we have to keep it going. No, that's real.
No, Nate is actually straight.
I'm actually straight. This is all a play.
This was the bit.
Send me your hottest single ladies, because I am ready to date. No, I can't. Please don't do that. That was too much.
That was a bit.
No, I think it is. There was a bit of us trying this out and thinking, okay, we don't know how this is going to go. We're new to this scene. We don't know what we're doing. I don't feel like I'm extremely great at talking. I like to talk, obviously, but
yeah, and I'd rather listen.
And she'd rather listen. Yeah. So I like to talk. She'd rather listen. But we're both here anyways, trying to make this work, and it has worked. At least it feels like it's doing something. I don't think we're the best podcast or like the most well-spoken, at least on my end. You are more. But I think the need for people in this conversation is great enough that even people like me are useful. So I'm going to stick around and keep doing this. I maybe would prefer that I was a genius or perfect and I didn't have to look back at myself saying things and talking in circles and judge myself for like not being as good of a speaker as I'd like to be, and and even like talking too much when you probably had something to say for a while and I'm just still talking.
We got a system down.
We have a system down.
Yeah, will pinch you.
Yeah, which isn't traumatizing.
Fart on you. Yeah, it's great.
Good. Well, the farts are real. I can testify to that. For a lady, you are.
No,
I'm just kidding. No, you smell good. I actually fart. It's the creatine and the protein powder that keeps me in a perpetual state of farting, and I'm still skinny. I smell bad all the time because I'm on creatine and protein powder, and I'm still skinny. So
you always dig yourself into a deeper grave than you have,
because I can't diss you and then not put it back on myself because I feel bad. But the good news is, so we're going to come back probably in September. But the good news is I will hopefully finally get my workout routine in check so I can actually be as beefy as I know you want me to be, as I know the viewing public wants.
I don't think any of well, I'm only going to speak for the girls.
They don't want me beefier.
No.
They want me small. Okay. For the ladies, I'll not get beefier. That's actually good because I can relax more. But anyways, I guess we wanted to talk today and just have us two, and I think have more conversations, just us two in general, but we kind of just wanted to reflect on what we've seen this year and our own walks with God as we've done this podcast, because I think it's been a growing experience for me, the people we've talked to, the stuff we've read, reflect back on that, and just also say thank you for tuning in and being a part of this, because this is all about who's watching. This is about you, and just providing a safe space for you guys. So I'm not trying to be something or build the perfect podcast. We just want to create a place where people feel like they are heard and seen.
Yeah,
more than anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I guess we'll get into the conversation.
Yeah.
I guess I'll ask you, since I just brought the conversation, like, what do you feel like you've learned that you didn't know before we started this podcast, as far as like your faith and your sexuality?
I feel like I've learned a lot. I've learned more about myself and my relationship with God. Funny enough, I think a few of like the stand-up moments, conversations that have happened for me. One of them is with Britt Barron when she was talking about forgiveness, and sometimes forgiveness looks like getting back in the ring even after you've been knocked down. And I feel like God has continually put me in spaces and places where I have been hurt before, only to say, it's okay. Like I have your back, like you can do it again. And so I feel like I've just learned so much about God's just grace, and even comparing it to last year was a really hard year for me. And if you had told me last year when I was super down and out that we would be having these conversations, that, I mean, we were on Good Morning America, which is hilarious. Yeah, it's so funny.
It's wild, right?
If you had told me about that last year, I would have been like, that's like not possible. Like that's hilarious, but not in this world. And just the way that God has actually like literally picked me up and brought me to like a way different spot in not only my life but my faith is shocking to me, especially I mean, you know, some of those details, but it's just there's a lot of grace there. And I know a lot of people that don't believe in God might think like, oh, that's just like the way that life happens, like sometimes you're in, sometimes you're out. And I do to an extent believe that like that is the way that life is. There are ups and downs. And I also believe in God's goodness and I see his hand on my life time and time again, and I like can't escape it. And even if I try to explain it away, there are things that I couldn't explain as just like being coincidences. So even meeting you, like, and our friendship, like the way that the podcast started, I think we were still developing a friendship then.
Yeah.
And fast forward like a couple months, and now I feel like you're my little brother, even though I know you're like 50 years old.
I feel that too. We have that dynamic.
I feel like you're my little brother, and like I just know that you're going to be part of my life for a really long time. And I don't think those things just happen coincidentally.
Yeah. I'm with you. Thank you for
question right back at you.
Same question?
Yeah.
Well, just to cap off what you're saying, like I also feel I've questioned whether I believe things happen for a reason or not, just in general, because my faith has gone through a lot of questioning. And I think that's one thing that I always come back to is I do think some things happen for a reason deep down. Sometimes parts of me don't want to believe it, but then parts of me still, I don't know, like a little kid part of me is like, no, you still believe that.
Yeah.
And this is one of those moments where I'm like, yeah, I think this was kind of meant to happen. There's something on this that it's the fruit that we've seen from this, my spiritual lingo, gosh, but what we've seen from this, the good we've seen from this is greater than the sum of either of what me or you have within us, just based on how long we've been here. And so it kind of feels like, there's something on this, which is why it's been easy to keep doing this, even though, to be honest, we've both been very tired. We've been going really hard. Like this is every week on top of our jobs. Like we're doing this because we really care. So having you here has just been a huge blessing, because we didn't know if we gel on this level, and luckily we really have, because we're both Enneagram 6s. We both have a lot in common. We both drive each other nuts, but also like really understand each other. And both, I don't feel seen by too many people, because in general I don't always let myself be seen by everybody, and I'm careful with who I let see me deeply. And I feel like you see me, and that's pretty rare. Yeah. So I thank you. Now, what have I learned spiritually? Honestly, like, I feel like there's been a part of me that watching the podcast back, I'm like, sometimes I go a little bit Christianese, and I go a little bit back to like pastor's kid, when I'm like, you know, I'm not a religious person. Even as a pastor's kid, I would kind of shift out of like, okay, sometimes I feel like I need to be super Christian for the sake of the people I'm around. And then I'd kind of code switch with that and my sexuality. Like I've been code switching so many things for so many years. A pastor's kid will tell you this. You kind of just naturally like flow into like super Jesus-y talk and super like, oh yeah, Holy Spirit this, Holy Spirit that. When in reality, like, I think my spirituality at my core level is just like, I believe I have a connection to God and Jesus. And I believe some of like the hyper spiritual things we do in the church, especially like American Christianity, just feel like sometimes we're doing it because we're part of a club, and like we just like to do the words that everybody else is doing. And some people it's really authentic for, but like I think a lot of people in the church kind of act the way they do because it's just what you do. Yeah. And so for me, I'm like, even on the podcast, I'm like, I want to make sure I'm super authentic and super real, because like I say shit in public a lot. Like I'm not like a super good Christian-y boy. I'm a little bit of a turd sometimes. Like I'm not always super nice. I say jokes that are like sometimes like off the cuff, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I need to be more careful like what I say. Like I am not this perfect Christian-y person. I'm sorry if I've ever like, I've always been authentic on here, but I'm like, I have dabbled into like, I'm a little more Christianese than I thought, than I like feel sometimes. But when it comes down to it, there's been moments even this year where my faith has been really hard. I think it's really difficult to have something that has pinned you down and hurt you for so long, and then you have a million people online telling you that you're full of shit. Like, and the most inauthentic people I have met in my life have been Christians who act like they have all the answers while they're talking down to me and being condescending. Yeah. And having to experience that while my relationship with God is fragile. is rough.
It's so rough. Yeah.
I'm not a pro. I'm not an expert. Like Jennifer Knapp, when she was on here and she was saying how she just had to like give that all away for a second and just focus on herself. And I'm like, we have done a thing where we've stepped into a project where all of our vulnerabilities are exposed, and we're saying things that will get people to attack us while we're still processing our walks with God.
Yeah.
And so my faith, it's been hard this year.
Shaky. Yeah.
To be like, I don't just want to stand for myself. I'm kind of standing for other people. And I think something else that like hit me this year was like, you don't have to know exactly where you are in your faith, like at this moment.
Yeah.
Like it's just a day-to-day process. And that's been it for me. Like to the core of my belief, like I feel God. I feel like there is a spiritual element in this world that you can't deny. I've just like, this quote on my arm is a C.S. Lewis quote, because C.S. Lewis has always like spoken to me, from the Narnia books to even his like later theological stuff. I don't think he even really believed in like, there was a quote in a Narnia book about how he believed that someone that like did really good things but wasn't necessarily a follower of Aslan was actually up in heaven. And that always struck me as a kid, because like he always thought a little counter to the church. But like this quote is, if we find ourselves with the desire that nothing in this world can satisfy, the most probable explanation is that we were made for another world. Sometimes I hate it because I feel like it's really Christianese, and I'm like, I don't want to have this around on a date, and like if I'm dating a non-Christian, I'd be like, that's great. The dog was freaking out, so we brought him up, and now he's gonna chill for a second. His owner is out of town for the week. But now that I'm back on my rant, to finish my rant up, no, what I was gonna say is like, I've always believed that even though I don't always think that the church has an answer for everything, and I think I've believed that more and more the more I go, the church is really happy to have an answer for everything even when they don't. That's why there's 30,000 denominations. But when it comes down to it, I know my relationship with God is real, and it's never left me. It's always been a part of me. Doing this podcast has actually made it harder sometimes for my faith, but then other times stronger, because I've had more reminders that it's a personal walk, it's a personal relationship, and no one can define that relationship, take it from you, give it to you. No pastor. And I'm sorry, I've known a lot of pastors in my life, and a lot of them are just good talkers. And if your faith is fully dominated by your pastor, who is just a good talker, a good person maybe, or not always, like, then what is your faith really if you haven't walked it out on your own journey, you know? Like in this discussion we're having about faith in Christianity and faith in sexuality, like there are a lot of theologians that are arguing both sides. And if you actually get to theology, and there's a new book coming out at the end of the year, it's like called The Widening of God's Mercy, where it's actually talking about like a really well-known theologian who was pretty big anti-gay is now coming out pro-gay. So there's conversations on this. Theologians are actually more on our side. But come to all of that, like if your walk with God, when you're like feeling all these people coming against your faith, coming against what you believe, and it feels deafening sometimes, especially because we put ourselves in a place where it is deafening. You just got to remember, like, your walk with God is your own. And if those Christians are the best representation of Jesus, then that's not the Jesus I want. Because it's nothing like the Jesus I saw in the Bible.
I think that's like one of the things that God has been revealing to me this like last few months of doing this is there are no sides. There are no like people who, at least in the, you know, we are going to lean in Christianese, like in the kingdom of God, quote unquote, like there are no sides. There are God's family, like God's children. And so I think that when we make these like sides here on earth of, oh, those people are sinners, like hate the sin, love the sinner, that just is like so unhelpful, first of all. And then second of all, there are no like people who are pro-gay or pro-God or all these things that we make up. I believe that when we get to heaven, you know, I think there is a heaven, hopefully. But when we get to heaven, there are going to be so many people who look so different from us. And the white conservative, heterosexual, you know, cisgender, whatever, they're going to be surprised to see some of the people who are in heaven. And I don't think that, I think most of those people will look very different from what they think. And I don't know, it breaks my heart for people people who are going through it right now with family members and friends who reject them because of their sexuality. Okay, and there's one question that I want to throw out at you, Nate.
Yeah.
So we got this comment on YouTube a couple weeks ago, and it was like, I agree with the content that you guys are making. However, I don't think that you should be leaning into like a queer identity. I think you should be leaning into a God identity. So what do you think about that?
I think the things people get hung up on, just I'm reading some of these comments, and in real life too, it's also just the things we get hung up on in this conversation. I don't know. Like, who effing cares about some of this? Not that person. Like, I value their question. I don't mind the feedback. I think that's really interesting. But I think people are so worried about doing everything perfectly and having an answer for all this. I think being gay, we want to have an answer for everything. It's like, I don't feel like anyone has all the answers to being gay. Like, I don't want being queer to be my identity. I want to be Nate.
Yeah.
Now, Nate was always queer. Nate was the way he is because of being queer. Nate talks in the third person today. And I just don't feel like it was my defining feature, but it did affect the way I act in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I think you should be as gay as you want to be. Now, yeah, I think God is a part of my identity. I think being gay is a part of my identity.
Yeah.
I don't think it's something to get hung up on, like whether it's one way or the other. I think it's kind of a personal journey. Like, do you feel like so I think someone else said this, like, how gay do you want to be? Like, what do you feel like being gay, being gay affects your personality and your persona? That's one thing. If being gay is your whole personality, for me, doesn't feel super authentic because I just feel like there's so many different facets to me.
Yeah.
But for someone who, like, being gay affects them in so many different ways, I'm also not going to be like, hey,
tone it down.
I'm like, hey, be super gay.
Yeah.
That's you being you. My gay looks
different.
So I'm not here to judge someone else's gay.
Yeah.
Except you're gay. I'm going to judge you're gay.
That's fine. Oh, I wore the shirt just for you. Do you like it?
It's a vintage.
It's a vintage.
It's a vintage mini.
Disney.
I really like this shirt.
Thanks.
No, she's going vintage today.
Well, it's
I'm a
because
big
you called
fan.
me a Disney adult, so I just really wanted to lean into that.
Oh, no, this is actually like less Disney adult because it's vintage.
Okay.
So.
Well, okay. I'll give you my 2 cents on that. When I read it, I was like, yeah, no, I actually do agree in some sense that as Christians, we're called to embrace an identity of God's children, acting the way that He would, all these things. And I think that so many straight Christians are the ones that are really putting that identity of queerness on us. So it's like, I personally stopped coming out to some people because I started realizing these people are not coming out to me as straight. Why do I have to come out to them as gay? And I think that so many Christians are actually the ones who are quicker of being like, Nate, you're gay. Like, this is a problem. We really have to pray through this. And you're like, no, I'm Nate and I'm fine. Like, I love God, I'm gay, and like ... Like, you don't have to pray about anything. And so that question to me, I was like, no, there's some validity there. And there's also so much of an assumption thinking that I embrace just my queer identity.
Yeah.
Like, that's not it. Like, Susie, speaking now, person, like you said, like, I'm so much more than just that. And if you would please take this big mountain that you've made out of my sexuality and remove it, like, you would see a person on the other side. So yes and no to that question.
It's opinion based, right? Like, I'm not going to be the authority on any of this, but yeah, it's like, well, I don't feel like I wanted to define every part of me. I want to be known as Nate. I don't feel so on some level. I guess I could say I'd relate to that comment where I'm like, I probably would say I don't want queer to be my whole identity, and I want God to be a part of my identity, probably more so. But end of the day, it's up to each individual. I don't think there's a perfect right or wrong for what you put as a forefront of your identity. I do feel like in general, probably people need to put it really strongly. I think the fight to say I'm queer, this is part of my identity, is partially because we weren't able to have that as part of our identity. So it's like an extreme. You push us really hard and like, you can't be queer, you can't be gay, you can't be any of this. So you're like, no, I am gay, I am queer, this is who I am. It's gonna be way over here on the spectrum. So like, maybe in the middle is more like, I'm gay, but also like, I like bowling. I'm also a bowler, you know?
You're a great bowler.
No, I'm bad.
We've never been bowling. We should go bowling.
Ooh. I actually wanted to ask, because I feel like this is, I kind of want to do a whole episode about this, but I don't know. We'll just do it a question for now. How do you feel in the dating world as a Christian who, you know, and just being in the gay scene, approaches it a little different than a lot of people in the gay scene?
Yeah. This is a really good question, and one that I've had a couple people ask me. Oh, and which caveat here, I did want to like just verbally say this. I am not good at responding to messages. Nate is a witness.
Even mine.
Yeah,
honestly.
so if you've messaged me and I haven't responded, I'm so sorry. You'll probably get a voice message from me at some point, but I try to save all my
energy for me.
My energy for Nathaniel.
Not my name.
Okay. Anyways, so I have gotten that question a few times, and the way that I see it is I'm just not willing to change who I am or what I believe to date somebody. And so that doesn't mean that I want them to change what they think or they believe. But I have some like pretty strong convictions of what it looks like to be a healthy partner, and that's with God. And if you're not a believer, that I believe that these are good things to just have in a general relationship. I do find that it's difficult, more difficult around the like topic of like sex and all that stuff. I'm not having sex, and so when we have those conversations of like I don't know, you meet someone that you really like, you kind of like go on a few dates, and then it's like it's time to smash, and you're like, whoa.
Classic line when they tell you it's time to smash.
Smash burger.
Susie gets that a lot. Hey, it's time to smash.
No, and it's like there are a couple things for me that go into it. Like the first one is my safety. I want to feel safe in a relationship, and it like goes beyond just the physical part of it. I want to feel emotionally and mentally safe, and then it's also I think a spiritual thing too, because when you have sex, you're like creating some like really deep bonds, I think, that are not even, yes, they're chemical, and then I do think part of it is like there's a spiritual element to it, and that's just my opinion. So I think that's the area where I get the most like, what's the word I'm looking for, convoluted, gets a little, that's a word. Yeah, I just feel like I'm like walking into a booby trap sometimes.
Booby trap. That's what we call a booby trap. I don't have to deal with those. Susie, walk into a lot of booby traps.
That was
sorry, I'm a child.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
Thank you. I know.
That's hilarious. I'm gonna keep laughing.
Welcome.
That's so funny. Yeah, it just gets a little funny.
Oh my god, we haven't had much sleep this weekend.
You really hit a funny bone for me.
She needed this. It's fine.
Yeah, that's when it gets the hardest. But in terms of dating non-Christians, I will always go on a first date, second date, third date, just to see what the vibe is like. But I'm also so picky. You know this, Nate.
We're both.
I'm also
honestly,
so picky.
it's a problem.
So I feel like I already initially just kind of reject a lot of people who I already feel like, oh, like our lifestyles just probably won't match up.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of pressure to give into sex and all that jazz. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I feel the pressure myself.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
No, there's a lot to it. Like as far as culturally, I've been wanting to connect with other gay guys, obviously, and it's hard because I'll go on dates, and then if a date doesn't work out, I'm like, I kind of want to be friends with them, but usually like you go on a date, so it's weird. But I'll go out dancing sometimes, and like I'll kiss some guys on the first date. I'm not like a beacon of purity. I don't want to be on here acting like a beacon of purity because I'm a gay man, and I didn't do anything for 30 years. Like I was I hadn't kissed someone really until 30. Yeah. So it's like I've kissed a lot of people now, and I'm like, I'm not like this perfect person. What I have realized is like I just want to have a deep connection with someone before I go like really physical, just because it doesn't really feel like something that's worth it to me. That level of connection, just like the safety level, like I want it to be with someone I care about. but I'm not perfect. Like like I said, I've kissed a lot of people without like having a deep connection, and I'm not like feeling bad about that. I don't actually feel like, and like we've talked about the sex before marriage conversation. I'm like, in general, like I like am not really having that conversation right now because I'm single, but like I've talked to a lot of people that like when you're dating for someone for 3 years, or like people that are just like dating for a little bit and want to get married so they can have that. I'm like, I kind of lean more towards, I don't think sex before marriage is wrong. Like that's kind of where I'm at. So I'm not like super prude on this, but I want to do things based on what I feel. Like I'm really stubborn. I didn't come out till I was 30, partially because I'm like, I'm going to do what I feel is right. I'm not going to follow the culture. Or just follow, a feeling at the time. Like I want to really know what I believe and act on that. And so even coming out, I'm like, well, what do I want? What do I want out of dating? Like in the gay scene, I am a little different, and I've struggled with that because I'm like, I don't want to be different than everybody else. I don't want to be like an outlier like I've been my whole life. Like I've always been the gay guy that's like not Christian, like that feels different than the other guys. Yeah. And now I'm in the gay scene ish, and I feel like I'm a little bit different still, and it's not fun. Yeah. But I think partying is fine. I don't have a problem with partying. If you're partying and that's not what you want to do, but you're doing it because you feel like you need to, if you're taking substances you don't want to do, if you're like just living a party lifestyle, getting drunk, you're having sex when you don't want to like be going like into that world that heavily, then that's a problem. And I'm not going to be going way out of my comfort zone. I'm not saying stay in your comfort zone completely, but I'm not going to be doing things that I don't feel good about because of peer pressure. Just like I wouldn't like, come out because I felt like I needed something. I did it because I wanted to do what I felt was right. I'm stubborn. So I'm going to follow what feels right to me. Yeah. Because this is, again, for me, my value. I don't want a non-monogamous relationship. I know a lot of people are happy with those. I want something monogamous. I want a deep connection. And I know that like fooling around all the time isn't going to get me closer to that. So my value system is I want something deep and connected. I don't want to live a scene life just because I genuinely don't think that's going to get me closer to my goals, to what I'm looking for in a partner. So it's hard because I don't have all the answers, and I really don't want to come across judgmental to gays that are just like going after it. Cause I'm like, I'm not in your life. If you feel like that's getting you closer to your goals, like if you're not trying to find a long-term relationship, if you don't want to be monogamous and you're having fun and you don't even share the same faith I do, so why would I care or judge you? As long, the one thing I see in the gay community is when people don't want to be living that lifestyle and feel like they need to for the peer pressure. Because like I would say, like for the ladies, it's a little bit less party. You guys don't party as quite as much as we do. Like for gay men, some of us party so hard that we don't know left from right. And I'm like, hey, if that is what you want, then go for it. But if that's not what you want and you're just doing it because you feel like you need to be gay, that's also a problem. Yeah. Because no one can tell you how gay you are, and you shouldn't be defined by anything, much less like how much you party. Like that's a pretty toxic thing to feel like we have to party and push our boundaries way past where we want them to be just to fit in with the group. Yeah. So if you're on the fence with that, I would just say like, what do you want? What are your values? And if you're not following those, there's a problem. And if you want to go off and party, go off. Yeah. No, I think that's such a good thing to call out, because it's not just in dating, but it's in the whole community. You really have to like do some inventory checks within yourself to see what's fitting right. Yeah. And I think probably 6 months ago, I was a little bit more into like the partying, and it's because I think I had more time on my hands. Yeah. I think I was closer to some people who were kind of in that, and then it was a really pretty quick gut check the next day of like, hey, that doesn't feel like me, and like being able to like recognize that and listen to your own voice in that and say, oh, that's just like really not me. I think I was just trying to fit in with these people. I think that's important to listen to. And even within dating, like when you date someone and you're like, oh, this just like, I don't know if this is like for me, even listening to that. And that's even harder, especially when you're trying to find someone to settle down with. And it's like almost everything checks out, but just like some really big rocks don't. That's what I think what I love about our connection is I feel like we're made out of the same stuff. Yeah. And we're pretty stubborn in that way. Like our convictions are our convictions, and we're probably not going to change those things. Nope. So yeah, I think having people around you who are able to call that stuff out too
Like, you've told me some stuff where you're like, oh, I don't know if that person is great for you. Like, that stuff means a lot to me.
And I'm pretty like opinionated, so be careful.
Yeah, no, that stuff, because I think I said this in even my episode, or the dating episode that we were talking about,
Yeah.
where I realized that I wasn't listening to the people that care about me. Like, you have nothing to gain by telling me really hard things.
Yeah.
And so listening to those things is huge, especially when you're dating. Yeah.
Like, we're still looking for more gay community, so gay community, come join us. But like, I do feel really lucky to have found someone that we can just share so many things on and evolve together. I feel like we've both evolved together a lot this year. We're lucky to do this podcast because we've been forced to enter in all these conversations. I think for the first 2 years of coming out, I was just like, I don't know what I feel. I didn't want to know what I felt about everything. I wanted to walk my walk with God and really just let it be organic and have that. But we've been in a position where we've had to dive into this. And although it's been uncomfortable and when we've been tired, having to be in this space sometimes is draining. But at the end of the day, for where we're at right now, I feel like we're both at a really cool place of knowing who we are and what we want.
Yeah.
And I think we owe this a lot to the podcast and all of you guys for watching and listening and making us keep doing it, because I couldn't stop after hearing so many stories of people that have genuinely like this has been a life vest for them. So
no, it's been crazy. I think for me, the connection points and the messages, I think those have just touched me so deeply, knowing that there are people, and we said this from the beginning, like if it reaches one person and it changes their life, like that's all that, it was worth it all.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's really impacted several people is just shocking.
Yeah.
And I've said this over and over again, but like, if you're listening to this and you're wondering what to do next, like, you're not alone.
Yeah.
I think now more than ever, there's just so many people coming out that are both either coming out of religious homes or institutes and they're struggling with this and have either left their faith or kept their faith. There's just so much of that now.
Yeah.
And the community that this has kind of rallied has been, I don't know, just like really heartwarming. Yeah.
It's been, the messages have been,
it's crazy,
so uplifting and meaningful. And it's like, I feel again, ill-equipped. Like I believe what I believe, don't get me wrong, but I feel like I don't have I was always taught that pastors and leaders had to be like these big grandiose figures that were like really on top of their shit. But then you find out a lot of them aren't actually on top of their shit. But I'm like, I actually love, when I actually think about it, who I want to be led by isn't one big grandiose leader. It's by a community and other people sharing values. So if I can be a person that's just sharing my experience and values, not like a leader or a figure, I just want to be another person that's just like anybody watching that you can relate to. That's what the community looks like. That's like what the church, I imagine, was supposed to look like, just people sharing, learning together.
Yeah.
And part of the reason why the church is so messy right now. But
and it's so different.
Yeah.
Like Melody.
I know, she's
week,
so fun.
Like, I just loved her authenticity.
Yeah.
Like, she was like, I believe in God and I have sex with women. And I was like, girl.
She didn't hold back. She did exactly what she wanted to do.
She did not hold back.
Yeah.
I was like, if we had just so much more of that, like, realness. And she, like, you could tell, like, by the way she was like telling her story, like, there's no shame there.
Yeah.
She knows who she is. She knows where she stands with God. Like, it's just, I don't know. That's kind of contagious for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably why I was like talking about Christianese, because I'm like, she's just so real. She's exactly
so
what
cool.
she says she is. And I'm like, I want to make sure I'm 100% real all the time.
No.
Because like, what else is worth it? Like, what's the point otherwise? But I also, on that note, I wanted to say, like, for anyone that's struggling, because it'd be crazy to not address this based on our like demographics and like who we're reaching. Like, if you're struggling, if you're alone, I know we're just people on the internet. I know you're just like looking at us on YouTube, but just know that we've been in your shoes 100%. Both of us have been in the place where we feel like we're at rock bottom and it just feels so scary and you're so alone and there just doesn't feel like a way out.
Yeah.
Know that it gets better. Know that it can get better. Know that God loves you for exactly who you are. God doesn't love a version of you where you finally like fix yourself or turn into something that's good enough. Like, God loves you exactly how you are. You're exactly who you're supposed to be. Who you are right now. So if you've heard any other messages besides that and they're eating away at your brain, just know you're not alone. We're here for you. You can talk to us online if you need to. We'll try our best to reach out. There's a Trevor Project. You can get help. They'll help you get it for free. And if it's really dark, the hotline number is 988.
Yep.
You can talk to someone on there right away. Don't let it get so dark, because it'd be crazy to not talk about this and say that like there are people that are maybe going through that maybe like feel like they're at a point where they might want to take their life. And I just want to say, like, we love you, and it feels dark, but it's not. And you are so loved, and you are exactly who you're supposed to be. If someone told you there's something wrong with you, I'd like to fight them and just tell them how wrong they are, because you're beautiful exactly how you are. And it doesn't matter if you have your faith figured out right now. It doesn't matter if you think God likes you or not. Put that all aside, and just know that even though you can't see your way through it right now, there is another side.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah. I feel the anger on behalf of whoever's been told you have to pick one. That's not true. I think we've both sat across the same person who told us you have to pick one.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you could go kick rocks. Like, I, first of all, don't want your life.
Yeah. No.
And I don't want your faith.
Yeah. No, you look at the people that are telling you you're crazy for believing you could be Christian and gay, and you're like, if that's the Jesus you're selling, I don't want to buy that anyways.
Woof.
Yeah.
Smile.
Yeah. Really look at the people who have told you that you are not who you're supposed to be. Don't
be judgmental. And then I'm just like, F you.
Okay. If you're judging the people that are judging, is that still judgmental? It's like a double negative. It crosses each other out.
Does it? I don't think it does. I think I have some healing in my heart to do towards this person that I'm talking to.
Yeah. Honestly, same. We have we have similar aggressors in our lives, so it's
that's
fun.
what bonded us.
That's what bonded us. Trauma bonding, and to wrap up our season, trauma bonding. This podcast. We just wanted
someone to trauma bond with.
We just want the whole internet to trauma bond with us, and that's why we're here. But no, to all the people.
Do you think that person listens to this podcast?
I hope so.
Maybe they're the ones that left us a negative review.
Maybe they like have all the anonymous. We had our first negative review on Spotify. We've gotten a lot of negative ones on YouTube, but our first on Spotify.
Yeah,
and that takes work positive. To get over there and write it. So
wait, did you read it?
No, it doesn't have okay. I don't think it has a text. I didn't look that far. I don't know.
I don't think it does.
We love you anyways, and we know you'll change your mind eventually.
I don't think you will.
If it's him. No, I don't know. But I just did want to say to everybody, thank you for going on this journey with us. And I like attention, but I'm not here for attention. I am the youngest child. I am a gay man. I am the youngest child. I am a pastor's kid. I was on worship teams. I obviously have an attention need, and I've already been working on this, but that's not why I'm here. No amount of need for attention could keep me in the middle of all of this hate that I'm also getting, because it doesn't match up. The hate is worse than the attention is good. So I can just say honestly, and I've done a lot of self-searching, what I really am here for is to make sure someone else that doesn't go through what I went through.
Yeah.
I don't want to see any more people, any more teens, any more adults get the crap beat out of them just because they don't know what to do with this, because the church is just telling them that they're crazy. I don't want to see anybody gaslit. I don't want to see anybody think that their brain doesn't match their body, that everything doesn't make sense, and that they just feel like they're at the point of like no return because that's all they've been given and offered. I want to offer something else. Not as a pastor or leader, but just as another person, as a friend, as random person on the internet saying, we love you.
Yeah, no, that's so good. I feel like my purpose, every time I think about my why of doing this, I literally go back to that moment of sitting in that coffee shop with that man that was like, you have to pick either being gay or being Christian, but you can't have both. And I think I had done enough work on myself at this point to know that what he was selling was garbage. And so I had the wherewithal to say, no, that's not right. However, had I not, I think I could have sat there and felt so crappy about my situation and so helpless. And so I think about the person who is sitting at a coffee shop with somebody that they thought that they could trust, and they're being told this. And like you said, everything you said, you don't have to pick one or the other. You can have your faith and you can be authentic to yourself. If you, for some reason, choose to walk away from your faith to heal, please do. I think that's absolutely necessary most of the times.
Yeah.
And you have two people here who are batting for you, rooting you on. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
And also, crazy thing to say, the attention thing. You're just so funny sometimes. You say that, and my literally gut reaction is, I hate attention.
I know.
Do not like it.
I know, that's fascinating.
So in that sense, we're very different.
Yeah.
But in our values, we're very similar.
Yeah, I think that's probably why we're different, because you're more introverted, I'm more extroverted, I think, when it comes down to it.
Oh, absolutely.
I think we've probably covered the main points we want to talk about. Just mainly, I guess, we've learned a lot this year, and I never think I finished why I was talking about my C.S. Lewis quote.
I think you did.
Well, I don't think I really dug into the core message of that quote, so I'm going to...
Oh, I think you did.
No. Like the essence of that quote that I still believe, even though I've like kind of been less like in that world, but C.S. Lewis is awesome, so it's fun, is just that like there's a piece of that inside me that I'll never really like let go. Like I'll always know there's something else in the world, and even my faith is really low.
Yeah.
Like I'll always know that I don't know exactly what's happening in this world, and I believe I felt God, and I believe that like even though I don't have the answers, I'm okay with the tension. And I feel like the tension is probably the best thing about faith. If you're actually living faith well, is like having tension, openness, and love and understanding. And faith shouldn't be something that's easy or that you know all the answers to. And that's one of the most damning things about modern Christianity, is that it's all given fully complete packaged answers, and they don't even talk about all the contradictions that we're dealing with in the Bible. It's all this nice little package of this is right, this is wrong, you're gay, you're wrong. And when it comes down to it, no one really can tell you all that. And that is why there's 30,000 denominations that all think they're exactly right. So I guess that's where I wanted to go with that quote. I just didn't want to not say that.
They're all right. All of them are right.
All of them are right. Your denomination, you have figured out the meaning of life.
Well, I think that's kind of like where it goes back to like this whole binary, like choose one or the other. You don't. I think there are a lot of truths, little T truths in life.
Yeah.
So,
but if you think the pastor of Hillsong is the one who's figured it all out, go off. That's great for you. That guy, he wears great shirts and great pants, but he has not figured out the meaning of.
Okay, do you know, as a pastor's kid, why is there non-denom, but that's
actually a denom?
But that's a denomination.
That's a really good question. No one told me, but it always seemed weird to me. I'm like, I guess I'm not a denomination, because it literally has a look and a vibe. I don't know. We non-denom? Research. Non-denominational.
But they still have like a set of core values and beliefs.
They're just like, we're not a denomination. We just believe in things, but then they believe in things. It's a whole... That contradiction sums up the whole contradiction of American Christianity.
I just thought about that.
Yeah. They want to be non-denominational, but they're the most denominational of them all.
Yeah, because if you think about it, wouldn't they be the most like open?
You think so. But like, I guess it's a whole stance of like, the Christians of today act like they're so open and so like welcoming. And you think you are. I think we both are probably in church and we're like, oh my God, we're like the modern Christians. We're like out there. We're different. We believe that God just loves people, and that like, we thought we were modern Christians, non-denominational, like the evangelical Christian movement with like our big mega worship leaders. We're like, we're just cool. We're just like normal people. But then you notice all Christians don't hang out with other people. All of them dress alike. And it is another denomination. And they're actually acting like they're like non-judgmental, but then you find out that they are the most judgmental of all, but they try and package it like they're not judgmental. So it's like really kind of funny watching them try so hard to be non-judgmental and, oh, we love gay people, but then also when you really see it, and trust me, we've seen it, they dress cute and look like they're just modern people, but then they will spew all the vitriol
on the dressing train. Let's go down that rabbit hole.
Okay. Oh, okay. Towards the end of the podcast, we're talking about clothes.
Yeah, no, because this is important.
You dress nice. You dress fine.
The girlies will get it. The girl worship leaders dressing like lesbians. It is so confusing.
No, the gays too.
It is so confusing.
It's really confusing.
When you walk into a coffee shop and you're like,
lesbian or Christian?
The girls?
It's like the Patagonia, like the plaid shirt.
Well, it's everything. It's like the tattoos, the microbangs, the shoes, it's everything. It's very confusing.
On the guys, it's the skinny jeans hats. And just like really like Metro the chains. Yeah.
Oh, I saw somebody wearing the cross, a guy worship leader. He was wearing the one earring cross, and I don't think he realizes that is actually very gay, because George Michael.
I don't know.
But it was happening, and now it's like, does he know? Is he trying to tell somebody?
Well, Christians are always cry for help. Christians are always 5 years behind style, and gays are always 5 years ahead. So Christians of today look like gays 10 years ago. You can like quote me on that.
It's confusing for me as a girly.
I'm sorry. It's confusing for me as well.
But maybe they're gay Christian like me.
Yeah.
But then if you hit on them and they're not.
It's complicated. I don't know.
It's very confusing.
Gay guys also, well, for me, like every Gen Z is dressing like every Gen Z guy is dressing questionably gay. So just imagine how I feel. So now that we've talked about everything
under the sun,
the close is the ender. I just wanted to say for this next season, well, I want to be smarter. So I'm going to read more. I think I don't want to just be like the guy that doesn't know things. I probably should be the guy that knows things, because it seems like I might be in this space for a while. So I am going to go on like a research thing, and I'm going to get smarter.
Yeah, we have some books for you lined up.
I'm going to read some books.
Yeah.
So Smart Nate, tune in for season 2. He's coming out.
What's my rebrand?
What's your rebrand?
Yeah.
You're going to get like a little like crazier. You're like a little more unhinged, a little less churchy. Dare I say it?
Wait, okay, yeah. If you could rebrand me, Nate's in marketing. If you could rebrand me, what would you rebrand me as?
Just need a little edgier. You're too cute.
Oh, interesting. What's edgier?
Bad. I sound like a jerk.
What's edgier?
Just like less cute. Like, don't think so many nice things all the time. Just be a little meaner.
Oh, meaner.
Like let your dark thoughts out a little more.
Dark thoughts.
And start thinking dark thoughts. Not dark, but a little like spicier. I just need spicy.
Spicy thoughts.
Like just like
the booby trap was for you.
Well, no, you didn't mean to do that.
So
I think this is probably a me problem, because I'm a gay man. So like my thoughts are going to be just naturally like, I'm going to say, I'm going to have like, yeah. And all men are secretly teenage boys. So I'm just going to think bad jokes all the time, and you're going to think less. And that's actually probably good for you. And don't change. Actually be exactly who you are. I'm going to change. You're perfect.
Yeah, I think I'll be fine. But
You're admitting you don't need to change, and I do.
No, I'm not saying that.
You admitted it.
I actually kind of like myself.
That must be really nice. I love that for you. Okay, what are we talking about? This is useless.
This was so funny.
So good because you think it's valuable, so I'm happy to talk about it. No, what else? So for next season, I think I do want to get more into the theological discussions, because I know some people have wanted more theological backings for what they believe, and there really is that. We have not gotten into it heavily, but I want to get some really good ones for season 2. We already have one lined up that's gonna be really good theologically. Also, more different kinds of stories, not just stay in our own little niche. We want to like expand our niche a little bigger.
I think we'd like want to pull on the people listening, because you guys are the ones that are getting the most value out of this content. So if you guys have guests or people that you think we should have on the podcast, let us know. Yeah, message us on Instagram, or we have a Discord. And while we're out, so we're just gone for a month. We'll be back in September. But we're going to keep the Discord going. We'll be active on there, and obviously on the socials, we'll still be active. Yeah. But we're going to start a Discord channel about what we want to talk about for the next season. So come join us on Discord, message us there, join the like conversation, so we can get some cool like people lined up and cool topics lined up. And if you don't want to get in the Discord, that's fine. You can just hit us on Instagram. Yep. While we're gone for this month, like we're here for you if you need us, and there's a lot of others that are here for you if you need us. Yeah. What else? If you need Nate, you can follow him at Nate B. Peters. Nate B. Peters at Instagram. And then it's just Nate on TikTok. Yeah, it's just Nate on TikTok. And then mine is confusing. Yeah, what's your Instagram? You don't give your I don't private. Really give. Yeah, if you find my Instagram, you've got great detective work. And she's got a TikTok which she doesn't use. Yeah. Just message her on the I Try to Be Straight podcast Instagram. Yeah, and she'll hit you there. But thank you for everything. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to my rambles. Thank you for listening to my sentences that go in circles and then circle back again, because I do that a lot. I say like too many times. We can't talk about all my problems. But thank you for being here in the midst of our immaturity and our silliness and our imperfections. I love you, Nate. I love you. And thank you, Susie, for being an awesome person and a loving person and a kind person and a smart person. Thanks for being beautiful and handsome. And this is the problem in America. The guys are just seen for their looks, not for what they think about. No, I love your heart. I really appreciate it. I think I haven't had a friend who's gotten me on such a deep level like you. Whoa. And yeah, just really appreciate it. Thanks. Oh, she called me deep. She called me stupid, and then she called me deep. You are deep. It's like deep a hero sandwich, but open-faced. Because there's not two sides of bread. And upside down. Because you did the insult and the compliment, and there's not a second compliment. You'll get it. If you get it, you get it. No, thank you all for being here. Deconstructed sandwich. No, thank you. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you for
the messages, the support, and helping us get it out there. Share, like, whatever, just because we want to get this in more people's inboxes or whatever. But we appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Peace.
Appreciate you. Appreciate everyone. And we'll see you next season in September on the I Tried to Be Straight